Detours, brought to you by Sports and Spokes, the magazine for wheelchair sports and recreation. In 1981, the first National Veterans Wheelchair Games were held on the grounds at the VA Hospital in Richmond, Virginia. 77 athletes from 14 states competed in sports that included basketball, weightlifting, swimming, and much more. Now, 45 years later, 600 veterans are getting ready to unite in Minneapolis to try their hand at a wide variety of sports and activities. Joining me is a former two-time national PVA president, a Paralympian, and editor-in-chief of PVA publications, Al Kovach. Hey, Al, great having you in. It's an exciting time right now. The games are right around the corner.
Yeah, I can't wait. Unfortunately, I can't make it, but I've got the Sports and Spokes crew that will be covering the event for the magazine. I've been talking to Kelly Kalashevsky, the San Diego recreational therapist, and she's very excited about it. She is the head coach, and she's been doing this since, gosh, I think she took her first team to the games back in maybe '89 or 1990, somewhere back then. So she's a regular. And she's always impressed with the type of people that come out for the very first time. A lot of guys are and gals are just fresh out of the rehabilitation phase of their injury, and they're all trying something new, and they're scared.
You know, Al, quite a legacy. The game's been going on a long time, and you got to experience it firsthand. So, talking about first timers, there you were in the 90s, a heck of a jock, a Navy SEAL. You had all this athletic experience under your belt, but now you're dealing with a wheelchair. You've converted into that adaptive sports world, but you don't know where to go to find things. So tell me about what it was like at the first vet games for you. Was it, just getting an opportunity to experience sports once again and meeting people who are doing active things?
Well, let me go back a little bit further than that, Bob. When I first got paralyzed, I thought, I'm going from the way you described me to a 122-pound skeleton in a wheelchair, and I wasn't sure what was next in my life. But the first opportunity that was given to me was to work for Paralyzed Veterans of America, and then the next job was actually to coach the swim team at University of California. And for whatever reason, those things just weren't working for me. And when Kelly Kalashevsky, my rec therapist, suggested that I try the games, I was curious but a little bit scared. I didn't want to bring any more attention to my disability than was already there in front of you, some skinny guy sitting in a wheelchair. But I have to say that when I jumped on that plane with about 15 other guys that looked just like me, and we arrived in San Antonio, yes, it was blazing hot, but I saw about 650 folks that looked just like me. And from that point forward, for that week, I was the normal guy, and that you were normal if you were sitting in a wheelchair. The able-bodied people were the ones that just didn't seem to belong. But it was really my first taste in competition, but also my first taste in team travel and living in a hotel room. And it gave me the opportunity to ask a lot of questions that I couldn't ask others.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point because it's not just about going there and finding the sport that you may love, that you may do. It's also about finding that level of independence and getting back out there. And like you said, also being amongst that group of people who are experiencing a lot of the same psychological and physical things that you're experiencing as well.
Sure, and then they always say that a brotherhood is like a shared experience. It kind of creates that social bond. And when I was in my racing chair pushing up and down the Silver Strand here in Coronado, I was wondering if I was doing the right thing. But when I arrived at San Antonio, I knew I was doing the right thing. It was certainly a moment of affirmation and being able to share my experiences with others who were just like me. I found the gang that I was supposed to belong to.
Yeah, it's interesting that you and I both selected racing. Was there something that was just really difficult about racing that actually appealed to you in a way?
Well, it reminded me of what I was doing before my injury. We had an old saying that you embrace the suck, and racing was very difficult. It was not just the equipment, but stroke technique, being comfortable in a racing chair for hours at a time, getting in and out of that thing was very difficult. They never taught me that in physical therapy at the VA hospital, but I think that maybe the challenge of it was what really made it so interesting. You know, they always say that if it's easy, everybody's doing it. And living here in San Diego area, I would say we had about 15 guys and gals in racing chairs that were competing regularly, and that was very helpful for me when I would come home and have an opportunity to train with others.
Now, it may be tough to kind of call a first experience a transformation, but in some ways, do you feel like that first trip out to the vet games, did you experience that to a degree? Did it kick you off into a completely different direction in life?
It wasn't so much like a aha moment, it was building and building, and that anticipation just made it more and more exciting. You knew it was about to happen, and the week before I was about to jump on that airplane, I was certainly nervous, but, you know, when we get to the airport, I see all the my other fellow athletes, we're all getting on the plane together, checking into the hotel together, just kind of like it was like a crescendo. It just kept getting better and better, and, it was affirmation after affirmation after affirmation that I realized this is what I was meant to do, and that lasted for a long time. It's a reason why I continue to go to the games more often than not to help give back to the event that gave me so much.
You were a high level swimmer at Indiana University, world class athlete before your injury. And now all of a sudden you're being propelled forward into being a Paralympian in 1996. Did you look at or feel at any point in time that adaptive sports was a consolation prize for you? Or did you feel, completely whole with what you were doing?
Actually, Bob, I would say that it was a mix of the two. There's a reason why I never went back to swimming after my injury. It just wasn't the same. It, you know, I struggled with my being a quad. I had a hard time gripping the water, as they say, and my buoyancy was different, and I just felt like it was a controlled drowning. But when I got into racing,
That's an amusing way to put it.
but it was when I got into racing, it was so different than anything else I'd ever done. It was still very competitive. Don't get me wrong. That's like, you know, I am a very competitive person, and
Mhm.
it was Kelly kept pushing me from the time I appeared at the VA hospital, and then I met Carlos Melita, who said that I really should give it a try, consider my level of injury. I might be classified well, you know, a very high functioning quadriplegic. And and then you know what? I don't know if I ever shared this with you, Bob, but the first time I realized that racing wheelchairs could be cool was when I was watching a local news broadcast, and it was Deanna Sodoma was pushing down Pacific Coast Highway, and I thought, now that's cool. And I think between amongst the three of them, they convinced me to get into the sport. And once I made that commitment, I had all the support I needed from the Paralyzed Veterans of America and the Department of Veteran Affairs as far as coaching, equipment, and I really felt like I had found my thing, my mojo.
Great point, Al. Being a part of the VA system and having PVA behind you, those are real catalysts that push people forward. You have an opportunity to not only dabble in the sports, but also you have a shot at getting that very expensive equipment as well.
Yeah, they give you everything you need to be successful. You know, obviously, what really is important is what's going on in your head and your heart. But if you need something like equipment or funding, you know, I would even throw in Challenge Athletes Foundation in there because I think between those three, you're being given all the tools you need to be successful.
I want to talk a little bit about what's happening this year. So 24 sports represented and activities. The games have changed to a degree.
Yeah.
I think everybody pretty well clearly sees that, some of the really unbelievably demanding sports that are, like hand cycling and racing have gradually been phased out. And some people may not necessarily be happy with that, but they've been replaced. This year, there's going to be, a drone flying competition, axe throwing. There's a lot of new things that are also coming into the games, and in a way, that's adaptability to society. Do you feel satisfied in a way that the games are adapting to a new generation?
I think so, Bob. I mean, the whole spirit of the games is about adaptations, and and overcoming some challenges. The theme of that continues. It's the Department of Veteran Affairs and Paralyzed Veterans of America work together to assess what the athletes want. And there came a time when, in the late 80s, early 90s, the track and field events were very strong. But over time, travel with all that equipment, the cost, et cetera, the athletes started to stray from the track and field and started migrating towards other sports. Some of them are even, I would consider, more like backyard barroom competitions, like from billiards and bocce,
Bocce. Yeah.
cornhole to the two oldest sports that really got adaptive sports up and running was archery and basketball. And those two sports continue at the Veterans Games as well as at the Paralympic level. But yeah, track and field was from the almost get-go a very popular sport. It was really until maybe the last 5, 6 years that racing on the track has become something that's, while it still exists at the Paralympic level, it just is not the most popular thing at the Veterans Games. So they moved on to something different. They're,
So,
I know
so
that I've talked to PVA, I've talked to VA about this, and they're doing their best to give the athletes what they want. And what's
No,
best is
no,
it,
and I think that that's a great point, Al. There's even though there's still rugby, there's still basketball, and I've run into a number of number of the men and women who are still playing those sports, and they come to the vet games and they bring their infectious attitude about sports. So maybe even if, the new guy on the circuit who's there trying it out for the first time and just checking things out and hanging in the shadows, he gets to see some of the people who have reached the new level. They've excelled.
absolutely. And there's still sports, some of those sports are actually pretty useful, like the obstacle course in Super G. Training for that will certainly help you navigate a pair of stairs or some crazy transfer, or having to pop wheelies or going across terrain that's very inaccessible. There's still that learning to overcome challenges. The competition's still there, the brotherhood's still there, and honestly, it's not just what's happening on the court; it's what's happening. I hate to say this, but in the hotel lounge, out on the sidewalks, the conversations you have there, the people you meet there are. It's an opportunity that you may not have at home.
Al, you got a lot of exciting things going on with your new role as editor of the magazine. Yeah, SNS, Sport and Spoke, and Paraplegic News have both been around for the better part of 50 years. I mean, it's amazing to think, a half a century of writing magazines, and you have jumped into a role where you're trying to, make the magazine a little bit more progressive. You're adjusting to the future. What kinds of exciting things are hanging out there in the future that we may see?
Well, every editor-in-chief of those magazines brings something new. Cliff Crace created Sports and Spokes. He is absolutely a legend. And everyone else brings something new to the magazine. And now it's my turn. And we haven't done a redesign in some time. So we're celebrating our 50th anniversary right now. It's Can't believe it's been 50 years since Cliff created the magazine, but
I know, unbelievable.
yeah, but we're going to try something a little different. We're partnering with you guys at Detours, and we'll have a bigger presence on social media. We're very conscious, just like the VA and PBA is, about keeping up with what the athletes want at the games. We're trying to keep up with what the athletes want in a magazine, and so we're kind of broadening our approach. It's not going to be just a print magazine and some a little bit of social media. It's going to be a bit more than that, and certainly partnering with Detours has played a big role in that. In addition to the Sports and Spokes, Paraplegia News has been around for almost 80 years now, and
Unbelievable.
we'll be doing a redesign next year for that magazine. So stand by.
Excellent, excellent. Hey, Al, the vet games are coming up, National Veterans Wheelchair Games in Minnesota, starting on July 17th, just a week away. We'll be up there checking it out. It's considered the largest event of its kind. You've done it well. Thanks for coming in, sharing some of your insights. Really good talking to you today.
Thanks a lot, Bob. I appreciate it, and see you guys soon.